Thank you, Sam, and I want to welcome everybody to today's program. Regulation E is one of those areas that I got kind of passionate about when I was auditing in our bank. We had a two-bank holding company, and I would audit compliance for both of those banks. One bank, which had been in trouble with our regulators at one point because they were very stingy on paying claims, turned into a cash flow area. I mean, the claim came in, we paid it. There was any doubt went towards the consumer, and the claim was paid. Whereas our larger bank, anytime a claim came in there, it was, we want indisputable proof that the customer didn't do this, or we're not going to pay it. And we're just going to challenge the customers and tell them, no, we're not going to pay this claim. And it was like hot water and cold water, and it was, there's no rhyme or reason here that one bank is very stingy and one bank is too giving, and we need to find middle ground. And with that, I kind of launched myself into, let's dig into Reg E. Let's really look at, because we were very heavy into ATMs and we had a lot of claims as a result of that. Let's dig into this and let's figure out what is the right way to go, and let's progress from there. Hence, a lot of the materials that you have. Now, I didn't design all of these, and we're going to start off today with a discussion about the materials. Review your materials. The printed resource document that I gave you is actually what I use for my full-blown Reg E webinar. And it includes more information than, in fact, we are going to cover today. So there are going to be times that we're going to skip 10 pages here and there of this 45-page manual. So it would be about half that size had I taken the time to pare it all down, and I thought, why not give you a little bit more information to use it as a complete Reg E resource, which is not to say that next time I'm doing a full-blown Reg E webinar you shouldn't tune in. Certainly I would invite you to do so. But let's look at the materials that you've got. The packet, 45-page packet aside, you've got one document that says Sample EFT Error Report at the top of it. And if you haven't downloaded these, download them later. Just listen to the conversation for right now. And I would denote a couple things on here that are critical. First of all, these are given to you so that you can edit them to your bank's needs. And after our discussion today, there will probably be some things that you'll say, well, I'm going to put that on our form because I think that's important. One of the things that I denote on this sample EFT report is up at the top right. It says time and date. And I think that's critical because I have had instances where the consumer came in at, say, 38 minutes after the hour. We're at Central Time where I am. So it's 1:38, 1:37, give or take. And there would be the consumer in there making a claim to the CSR, and 6 minutes later, a claim hits the bank. Well, when your consumer comes in and says, I have lost my card, Mr. Banker, and you're on notice for that, any debit that happens after you receive that notice is on you, because it's the bank's responsibility now to, I use the term hot card, to hot card that ATM card, that access device, so that debits cannot be made using that card out of the accounts that it's tied to anymore. So it's critical that you know when they came in. This first form has a dispense difference section. It has a disputed withdrawal deposits section. About midway down on the page, it says, are you in possession of your ATM cards, yes or no? If no, what date did you realize it was lost or stolen? Where do you believe it was lost, and when did you first report this to the bank? And that date when it was first reported to the bank and the date and time at the top should just about be the same, because if you have a CSR who's talking to somebody who says, I've lost my card, then you want to fill out this report immediately. What's not on here, and I would urge you to add this in there, when it says, if no, when did you realize it was lost or stolen, I wouldn't say no. I would say, when did you realize it was lost or stolen, or there was a debit out of your account? And you're going to see as we go through the Reg E claims process why that's important. It's a critical date because that's going to help set liability for when that consumer loses their card, as an example, or the card was stolen. My wife one day was digging and digging and digging, and what are you looking for? And she tells me, well, I can't find my ATM card. I said, well, have you called the bank yet? No. If I can't find it by tomorrow, then I'm going to call them. I said, when did you realize it was missing? Oh, a few days ago. Well, I know that liability is going to be based on the first 2 business days. And I told her, if you call them tomorrow, if you can't find your card, which she did find, but I said, if you can't find your card, you better tell them you just now realized it was lost, because otherwise you're increasing your liability. Your consumers are going to do that. They're going to learn how the game is played, and they're going to submit claims that may not be on the up and up. Or at least that has been my experience. So it's important when you have that first contact with the consumer that you're going to get all of this critical information written down so that it's agreed upon and it's not changed later. One of the issues here that we're going to come back to, item number 9, says, have you contacted the police? Will you consider filing a police report and providing us with a copy of it? Note that consider is a key word there, because we're going to discuss the requirement of filing police reports and the fact that they are not required, and we'll talk about that probably a couple times. The second sample form you have is a sample EFT notice of error claim form. It's not as detailed. It has a lot more white space. It really doesn't look at dispense differences separate from other claims. It does have on about the middle of the page, my card was lost or stolen on or about. And that's a key date because, again, the consumer's liability is going to depend on when did they realize that they had a loss or theft of their access device. Some of the other items that you have is a series of letters that I wrote. These were written some years ago. They are simply meant to provide documentation for your file. I grew up on the loan side of the bank, and the credo was document, document, document. So what you have, real quickly as we look at these letters, a provisional credit letter. And you would fill in those blanks that are in the greater than, less than chevrons with the consumer's information. And this was written such that it could be fed out of a database or some type of a mail merge program so that you would have the same letter, consistent information that's going out, but customized to each person. When you file a claim, there will be times that you will pay a provisional credit. Some institutions will pay provisional credit immediately. Reg E provides you with a 10 business day period to pay that credit. Visa cards, and we're not really going to discuss Visa MasterCard, but we can't discuss this process without at least some mention of those products. Brian Crow will be doing a debit card webinar in about a month in March. And so if you have Visa, I believe he's focusing on Visa. It might be Visa and MasterCard. But their rules are dramatically different. There's tons of codes that have to be used to send things back. But, again, to cover some of the basics, Visa, as an example, is going to give you a 5 business day period in which to provide a provisional credit. So here's a letter that essentially goes out and says, we're giving you provisional credit. This doesn't mean that the whole deal is over. It simply means that you're getting use of the funds while we do our investigation. The second letter is a resolution of claim error. So essentially these letters are going to cover every possible aspect of your claim. It says that there was a error on your claim, and it goes through, because that's one of the things that we'll discuss in a little bit, is this is a required letter. If you in fact have a bona fide claim, you have to send a written response to the consumer. So this letter will help you meet that. It also indicates a point of contact. If you have any questions on the claim, sometimes you begin to look at this claim was approved by John, this claim was approved by John, this claim was approved by John, this claim was denied by David, this one was denied by David, and you begin to look and think, what's the differences? Or why is one person having a bunch of withdrawals? And I wanted to document those. So you've got a resolution of claim, there was an error. You've got a resolution of claim, there was an error and provisional credit had been paid. So it goes in and explains how the provisional credit's going to be made final.